Right, hello. So, public live stream. I've got the slow mode on because otherwise it's pretty much impossible to do live public streams now, unfortunately. So, obviously, this isn't really designed for this helmet to go with these goggles, but I thought that would be quite interesting. And an interesting thing regarding this is modern Riot helmets are actually having laser protection kind of put on the top bit of the helmet like that. There's some pictures from the latest riots going on in the US where the riot police now will actually have laser protective helmets on, like built onto the riot visor. So I don't know if they use a specific plastic or if it's like a layer of film, but basically the top strand of the helmets have this kind of red layer on it. And we had our first troll of the day. Slow mode's on, so he can't do much. Goodbye. All right, Dominic. All right, Joshua. So, yeah, obviously, if you saw the stream yesterday, you know what these are, or today's video. Not many people watched it. But yeah, pretty much essential if you're using something like this, just because of how, powerful it is. I don't want to burn my webcam out, so I won't actually shine it directly into the webcam. All right, Stug. But I got this on because people were asking me about this helmet. Well, sort of asking about that. If Iron Man Spartan comes on, this is the helmet I was on about to him, where he's asking, is there like Kevlar helmets with, riot visors on them? And this is the British Mark 6A. And like the Mark 6 and the Mark 6A, there's like a military sort of visor you can fit to these for when they were used as like riot helmets as well. I need to find where I've got it, but somewhere I've got the Kevlar sort of back bit that comes down there as well on your neck, like the neck protector. Well, today's video was it? Angry weeaboo noises or weeaboo noises about the laser goggles. Yeah, I'm good, thank you, Grenadier. So I won't keep this on for ages because it's a bit overkill and it makes the goggles push a bit too much down on your nose, but I suppose I could just do that, couldn't I, for now? But yeah, these are so just the Mark 6A helmets when the camera focuses with the visor installed. You basically just have to mount the visor things on if you buy one of the surplus helmets and they don't have the visor mounts on. So you buy the visor mounts, you take off the little plastic bit there, you put the visor mounts on instead, then you can install the visor. But yeah, I thought it was quite interesting today when I saw that like modern Riot helmets now are having laser protection built in. So when the British ones start turning up as surplus, like laser protective Riot helmets, I definitely want one of those. Micro scratches on the lens. What do you mean? Just very minor scratches on it? Probably, because if they're surplus, they're going to be used, aren't they? The Mark 6 is a bit weird because it's not super chunky, but it's that weird bowl shape, which a lot of people didn't like. That's why the later helmets Britain used are actually, cut more to a bit of a shape, rather than it just being a bowl made of, like, Kevlar. I'll put the other light on as well, so the lighting's a bit better. But yeah, these goggles are very, very good. Basically, my advice is anybody that's got a strong blue laser, get goggles like this or your eyes are going to go eventually. Maybe sooner than later if you have an accident. But yeah, they're quite good in terms of like the colours you see. Stuff gets a bit darker, but not much. But everything just has a slight orange tint and blue appears yellow in them, which is a bit weird. But all right, Rich, did you see the video from earlier with the welding helmet? Yeah, you can buy proper materials for it, Stug, as well. Well, the Mark 7 is kind of gigantic, yes, but that's because it's a very high protection rating Kevlar helmet. Until you go to thermoplastics, the Mark 7 probably offers you the best protection you'll get from Kevlar. No, Ryan, I'm not. The answer's the same as last time if you ask that. But, yeah, because obviously, like I said, I was asked about this recently, so there we go. I got it out for today's stream. But, yeah, I'll have to put the other bit on it. I assume it just sticks on with the Velcro, or it might actually go through the back bit there, the back protector. I've never actually seen how they install properly. But, yeah, so compared to an actual Riot helmet, this will not offer as much blunt force protection as a proper Riot helmet. But these will actually obviously provide an overall better sense of protection, as in they offer a little less physical protection, but if somebody shoots at you or shrapnel goes off, you have a hell of a lot more protection with, you know, proper military helmets with riot visor mods for them. You also do get some of the helmets that have the really thick kind of ballistic visors. Again, not for ones like this, because this is a riot visor. If they work, they work, Dominic. Like, it's like one of those things, like I said, I really don't know, because I've never had them used on me. Like, I know a lot of that technology exists, but again, you know, how efficient is it? Yeah, that's a good way of putting it, Mike. I'm preparing not to lose my eyes. Yeah, that's the thing that surprised me, Rich, especially because people were like, oh no, never use them. Well, in all honesty, I've never seen people test them, and that's why I did it, because they tell you not to use them. But I thought, wow, if this is a dirt cheap welding thing, I want to see what it actually does. Fairly comfortable stug. It's not as comfortable as the Mark 7, but the Mark 6, especially the later model ones like Mark 6As, have an alright amount of padding in. Because, yeah, basically, you've got a mesh bit up there that your head sits in. There's foam above that, but obviously that's the bit that supports the helmet on your head. Then you've just got a front and back sort of leather and foam pad thing. And then your head doesn't come into contact with the sides of it. So yeah, they're not uncomfortable. It's just they had issues with the Mark 6As, I think, with some of the other armor, where the helmet would keep sort of riding down like that when the soldiers went prone. If you want to buy brand new Kevlar, Tim, not really. If you want to buy second-hand Kevlar at very cheap prices, yes. Well, if you buy a new FM12, it wouldn't have scratches on, but it's basically impossible to buy a brand new, never issued one. I don't know what you mean by watch this when you've just put a load of words in, but are you on about the GP7 or the PMK1 with the massive cheek filter? I know what that is. Yeah, don't get a Mark 6 stug, but get the Mark 6A, because the Mark 6A, the easy way of telling is Mark 6As are black and have that kind of sandy texture on. Regular Mark 6s are green and have like a shiny texture on them. The regular Mark 6 is ballistic nylon, like won't even stop a 9mm round at like 20 yards. Sometimes they'll actually go through both sides of the helmet on ballistic tests. I've seen of those. But Mark 6As are actually all right because they're filled with Kevlar. Like I said, they're not the most practical shape, but often they do turn up cheap on UK eBay. And if you get them cheap, I do like the fact that they have the accessories you can find on eBay to mount all the like riot gear. And I think that was probably because British troops are going to be in like Northern Ireland and like places like Afghanistan and Iraq. Often they'd be doing like police duties or, you know, like riot control kind of duties as opposed to, you know, being straightforward, just shooting at people. And I think that's why they design these helmets, so they're actually, you know, able to be adapted into riot helmets. And like I said, it's not going to be as good as an actual riot helmet as a riot helmet. But personally, I quite like the idea of having a face shield on a military helmet. Especially because... And that's why I finally found out what those silly little things are for on the back of the helmet. That's, you know, to make your visor stop at that position. That's actually what they're for. You've missed one, Flazzy. There was just one right at the beginning that said something like, oh, this is... I can't remember what he said, this is bollocks or something like that. But there you go. So the nice thing with these, at least, is I'll do the strap up, although I'm not a massive fan of the straps on these helmets. It's definitely better on the Mark 7, and the Virtus is like way better again. You can see that obviously they extended the strap on this particular one before it got surplused. All right, chocolate muffin. So yeah, that's not the strap done up properly because I need to tighten all that up, which I can't be asked to do. But yeah, the visors on this are actually pretty good in the sense they go up high enough that they're not going to get in your way if you're not using them. And then obviously, when it's down, it does cover quite a bit of your face. But yeah. So hello, Brighto, and hello everybody else, chocolate muffin that's just joining. But yeah, like I said, Mark 6As, if you can get them cheap, aren't bad for what they are. Like the Mark 6 is awful, unless you want it as like a prop for something. It's as bulletproof as any other Kevlar helmet. Should stop pistol rounds fine. Rifle rounds will very likely go through and blow your brains out. You know, that's how Kevlar helmets work. You know, if you're very lucky, you might get shot with a rifle round, and the combination of the Kevlar and the shape of the helmet might cause the round to diffract enough it doesn't hit you in the head. But yeah, that's basically it. That you know, if you want very good ballistic protection, you're going to have to spend a lot on thermoplastic. Sorry to hear that, Brighto. But yeah, I've not done loads today again, because at the moment I am waiting to find out if I still have a job or not, and I'm still not been told, even though I'm meant to be back to work. So, you know, that's my kind of attitude, that at the moment I don't know if I've got a job, so it makes lots of things very difficult. Not like saying stress things, but, you know, shall I start applying for new jobs? Do I have a job to go back to soon? How long till I go back to it? Because, you know, the place is open again, but, you know, they probably don't know how much money they're going to make, how many staff they can keep on, because of the government not relaxing enough of the corona things. So there we go. And then Boris the other day going, oh, isn't the vaccine that's fixing everything, it's the lockdown. Well, it's a combination, isn't it, Boris? The vaccine definitely fucking plays a part, because you said that before. Yeah, like I said, these helmets are good for anybody interested, but yeah, make sure you get a Mark 6A, not a Mark 6. I would specifically say, if you're looking at eBay listings, make sure you can see a picture of the underside of the helmet, or, you know what I mean, like the proper bit of the helmet, rather than somebody just having a like camo liner on it, because if they've got that on, you can't actually check which version of the helmet is. Corsair's COVID in the US, Buzzbar. Are you being stupid? Just to warn you, if you do shit like that and you're being serious, you're just going to get blocked on here, because we don't have anti-science people on here. If you mean that there's people in the US who don't think there's such a thing as COVID, that's obviously true, but that's true in every country. But there clearly is COVID in the US, and clearly a lot of Americans have died from it. And the vaccine thing got slowed down, didn't it, in the US the other day? Yeah, that's the problem, Alex Saint, with some of them. With some of them, it's just easier to buy a new helmet, because, again, with lots of things like gas masks, people don't sell the spares and repairs for them. You know, the idea is if you break it, you just buy a full new one, rather than trying to hunt down parts for it. Anyway, let me have a look on eBay just to see how much Mark 6A helmets are for people that are interested. Oh, and for other people interested, I've ordered a cheap, and I say like a cheap one, because at the moment, like I said, I can't really afford to spend loads on it. A very cheap green laser, but I think it's going to be at least a few milliwatt. And it's got more of a casing on it like this one than, you know, like little crap pen type ones. So I bought that just for so I can test, you know, the S10's red outserts with a green laser, because I said my green laser I had broke ages ago, and it was only a 1 milliwatt anyway. So there's 2 Mark 6s with bids on them for £15 on eBay at the moment, Mark 6A. There's some buy it now ones for like 30 to 60 quid. There's a couple with all of the gear, as in like Mark 6As with the right visors installed and everything, for like £80 to £100. Again, like if you're in a small size, you can generally get them cheaper if you need a large. Yeah, I think I paid about £30 to £40 for my Mark 6A. But yeah, just double check before you get one. You're definitely getting a Mark 6A, not a Mark 6. Right, from what I understand, M1C Austin, they're rated officially 3A, but if you test them, they are basically just an ECH, because Britain has bought them as ECHs. So, you know, if they're tested, they're just exactly the same thing as ECH. The only difference is it's basically a different liner in it and a slightly different mounting system. But it's made by the same company that makes the ECH, and it's basically a licensed ECH export. Yeah, I was saying, if people want a steel pot, they can get them very cheap over here, Brighto, but the problem is you can't get Kevlar helmets super cheap, if that's what you mean. Or as in the people that don't believe in it, Brighto, foil men. But it basically, M1C Austin, it's just an ECH, because, you know, when it's been tested, it's clearly performs the same as ECHs. Something keeps beeping in the other room, and I need to work out what's doing that because that's been annoying me. It only started today, but it's like maybe once an hour there's like a thing that does a couple of beeps. So I don't know if it's something low on batteries, but I've not got too much running in the other room that's actually on batteries. So I have to have a look, but it's going to clearly be, you know, some boring electronics thing that's deciding to beep, or maybe something in a drawer. Not a smoke alarm in the other room. We've got a smoke alarm not in that room, in the front room, and that's one of the modern ones where they last for like 10 years, and then you have to throw the smoke alarm away because they're like the replacement to the AM241 ones. But it's that sort of thing, Flazzy. It's something beeping to let you know it's low on battery, and I don't think I've got any Geiger counters in that room that are turned on with the batteries in that do the beeping thing. Oh, as in, you know it's in your house, LX8 sort of thing, but you can't find it. Yeah, that's always irritating. So infrared, if you buy an alright digital one, you might get an alright digital one for around $100, £100. If you're buying a good Gen 2 unit, probably going to have to look at 1,000 unless you find somebody selling one second hand for a good price. Again, it depends on if it's second hand or not. Oh, yeah. You know, the funny thing is if you're wearing a foil hat, you're actually more conductive to a lot of electrical things. I'll check that, Caleb. The carbon monoxide alarm isn't in the room where that sound's coming from, but it's in the next room along, so I will check that one. Because we do have a carbon monoxide alarm, so that'll be worth checking. I didn't see the battery light flashing on it earlier, though. But yeah, I'll check that. Thank you, Caleb. That's the best thing I've heard so far. I'll just check through all the drawers as well, because it's possible that there's some old thing in one of the drawers that beeps, and I've just, you know, like not even remembered it's in there. Worst camo ever, American ECH. Not ECH, that's a helmet. The Universal Combat Uniform one, whatever it's called. UCP, Universal Camo Pattern, that one. The one that's just literally grey. I know it's probably not the worst camo ever, but the amount of R&D money they spent on that only to get rid of it really quickly. Oh, the one with that one behind me, that French riot armor that I've got the GP7 on. But yeah, again, with night vision, it's one of those things. Just keep an eye on. I'd say look up certain units that you'd want to potentially get, and then keep an eye out for those units being sold secondhand in good enough condition. Let me look up Mora camo. Oh, that grey sort of one. I mean, it's pretty similar, isn't it? I've got Mora on, I think, one of my gas mask bags, and it doesn't seem as bad to me as USECH, but I guess it really depends, doesn't it? Because I suppose if Mora fades, then it's just going to get even more grey. But, yeah. Yeah, you could do that, Fluzzy, especially if there's more of a market for them being made. But it really, I think, depends what people want with it, because you get some people that literally refuse to buy anything that's not like Gen 3. Yeah, that'll be it then, my MC1 bag. Because I've got one of the MC1s I've got is just in like a grey sort of boring bag, but not that Mora camo, you know, just like a grey brown sort of fabric one. But yeah, first I think people need to work out what sort of night vision they want, because it's pointless, you know, unless they know sort of how the generations differ to kind of know what to get. Do they really need to replace the M4 though? Because this is a thing you see in lots of armies where they spend ages trying to replace something that doesn't really need replacing. PVS 14s, unless they're in the US, technically they're illegal to buy. That doesn't stop us getting them. But yeah, PVS 14s are US ITAR protected exports because they're current service issue stuff. And again, they will turn up for sale because people like making money, you know. But PVS 14s are pretty much not something to recommend outside of America just because the market for them is overpriced when they do turn up. Alpenflage works though, Ryan. I've done a video testing it. It works. The red in it appears brown to the human eye at a certain distance. So basically, the red makes a different brown contrast to the brown. Alpenflage is actually surprisingly good when you see it in action. Although, isn't Alpenflage like the German old Munster pattern, or whatever it was called? Or Muster pattern, something like that? And then the Swiss kind of just got that, changed it a bit, and used that. That's interesting, Stug. So is it like sort of obviously a disruptive pattern material, but is it like a different DPM to like the US and the British old woodland type ones? Oh, that's cool, Alex. Saying, yeah, if you can get it, go get that, because antiques, I think, if you find them for a good price like that, are worth getting. When you say Israeli masks, I assume you mean Israeli. 4A1s and M15s are good. Paddy Flage, that's a good name for it. But yeah, let me look up Paddy Flage then. I think you've said about that before, because that kind of reminds me of both the French one and the sort of Serbian ones. Yeah, what that reminds me of, if I get the images open in a new tab, is French camo. I'm trying to think of the name of it. I've got a jacket in the French camo. But yeah, this sort of one, if I just link you to an image. So this particular French, yeah. So the Serbian camo is pretty similar to this as well in terms of colour pattern. So that's the French one. Again, it's just another DPM, but in a different sort of colour scheme. And then, yeah, Serbian, is it M91 camo I'm thinking of? Yeah, it's this particular one I'm thinking of. But like you're right, Stug, I'd say it's closest. But yeah, it's very much similar to those, isn't it, in terms of like the pattern's slightly different, the colours are slightly different, but you can see how there's quite a lot of similarities between them. But yeah, I can definitely see why you see the resemblance there. All right, Mike, see you in 10. I don't know if you're Caleb said the red and alpenflage is because of the forest floor. The red and blue wavelengths of light have been absorbed by the foliage, leaving only greens. As a result, red and oranges appear as murky brown blobs. It's why orangutans and tigers are very hard to see on the forest floor. That's a very good point. I didn't know the science of it, but I know from testing it, when we did videos and that if I got a friend to take photos of me at different distances in like different, places in our local woods with alpenflage, and we done it with others, like, how surprisingly at a distance the red in alpenflage did not look like red, and again, it could be like refraction, like you're saying, and all that sort of thing. Well, there's also weird stuff like that, though, LX Saint, where apparently if you go on like one of the sites and buy the working Schmidt Rubens here, like the ones that are under 500 quid, like the ones Worldwide Arms have and D&B used to have, like the one I've got, apparently it costs Americans more to get those. So sometimes it's just really weird like that. And there's also the weird thing now where in Britain you're allowed to legally buy more powerful laser pointers than you can in the US, just for weird reasons that Britain's decided not to outlaw them, despite the fact the British government normally loves banning stuff like that. It's not that important, Litter Picker. It was just I was because Stug was saying about the Irish camo. I was just saying which ones it reminded me of, but he'd already said the camo I was going to put a link to. Matt, is that how much it's going to cost the military to buy Brighthole, or is that going to be how much it's going to cost on the surplus market? Because I know when camos are pretty new and they come on the surplus market, they're very expensive. And I think that's what Stug was saying, wasn't he? He said it's heavily overpriced, probably because it's still in service. Yeah, I think it's that sort of thing that if something's not really hit the surplus market in big numbers, there's a big demand for it. Because Finnish camo I really like, but if you go on Varustrelka, or however it's pronounced, and want to buy the Finnish camo, they have it in stock normally, but you're looking at between like 60 and 150 pounds per item in that camouflage, which is definitely not worth it. As good a camo as it is. See, that's the reason I like this sort of camo, because at one point in Britain, you could buy these in like very good condition for £10 each, these trousers. They're not the best trousers in the world, but they're very practical if you just want trousers with big pockets. Nick says he never questions camo unless I 100% know what I'm talking about. You can look at the World War II Dazzle camo for ships and say it's ridiculous. Yeah, because it hides the size and shape of the ships, doesn't it? That's what Dazzle does. Again, it's like stuff like that, where it's like, it's when people say, if something's stupid and it works, it's not stupid. You know, there's stuff that can appear to be stupid, but it actually works in a practical sense. I suppose that's for the civilian market then. Yeah, that's why they're charging so much, I guess. Yeah, I suppose, Fuzzy, it's that sort of logic, isn't it? It's the weird thing where in some countries with a bigger market for something or whatever, or just where goods tend to go, the prices radically are different. Because stupid politicians elect Saint that made a stupid load of rules up. There's no logic to it. Again, I suppose maybe a balisong is a bit more concealable than a Rambo knife, but it doesn't make a difference if you're stabbed by one or stabbed by the other. They're both going to do a horrible amount of damage where a knife blade goes, same as a kitchen knife, you know. Although, saying that, if when you say a Rambo knife, you mean like a big Bowie knife kind of thing, that would actually be more dangerous because the blade's probably less likely to snap off while you're being stabbed, especially if you've got a vest on. Cool. Yeah, if you found one for that price, that sounds good, Stug. Is it euros in the Republic everything's in? Because I assume Northern Ireland's in pounds sterling, isn't it? But I assume Republic is euros, but I've never really thought about that. But yeah, the stuff all around the world like that, where random products are just weirdly priced depending on where you get them. Because yeah, on about laser pens is the thing I found really interesting from the Styro Pyro videos. So let's say this 2-watt laser pen here. In the US, to get them through customs, they just mislabel them. So you get like 1 to 2-watt laser pens that are sold as 5 milliwatts. Right, I did Major Breaker, and you've got a Prince Persia. Is that Warrior Within, that one? Your picture, I'm trying to work out, it's very small. I like your picture. But I took a load of the Serbian videos down. I need to do the M2 review and some of the Coat One reviews again, just because at one point YouTube started like auto giving out strikes for anything to do with like Yugoslavia and the breakup of Yugoslavia. Well, I mean, they're not really deadly base. They're blinding. They're not deadly as such. Well, it depends how powerful they are. Powerful enough lasers deadly. But, you know, lasers are dangerous if you're fucking about with them. You need all the eye protection and all that shit before you get them. I'm not going to pretend they're not. You know, like I said, this laser pen does not cost anywhere near as much as these protective goggles. And the new one I've got coming from Hype, the 8-watt, that was about the same price as these goggles. But the thing is, if you buy one of these laser pens and don't get good goggles, half a second's accident could leave you permanently blind in an eye. Yeah, that's the stupid thing, isn't it, LX Saints? So it literally encourages a market where you have no clue what the true power of stuff is. Whereas in the UK, it's advisable for retailers not to sell stuff over a certain power, but it's not a law. And you just get the book thrown at you if you shine McPlanes or whatever. So that's how the law should be. If you do something malicious with something, you get in a lot of trouble, but you should just be allowed to buy and own whatever if you're not being a dick with it. I don't know about polyurethane. PVA glue works. Is that polyurethane? But you can put PVA glue on radium stuff and it stops it leaking out and then it dries clear. So that's worth doing. Especially if you've got like an old dodgy sort of dial. Like obviously if you've got a watch with radium paint on, don't open it up, squirt a load of PVA on, you know, glue your watch shut if it's an old antique watch. But if you've just got like a random radium dial laying about and you don't want to risk the paint flaking off, just put a layer of PVA on it and that'll work fine. The problem is, Alex saying I wouldn't be amazing at it because I'm not enough of a dickhead. Like, as you always see from political scandals, the people who do well at being politicians are the biggest liars because you don't get very far in politics if you tell the truth to people, you know. And also, here's something that will get me in a lot of trouble if I name particular politicians, so I won't do that. But also, lots of politicians also seem to be sex offenders that like diddling kids. Yeah, you know, another thing decent people don't do. Can you drink water? Of course you can drink water. I'm not drinking water at the moment, but there we go. What? When wear your Soviet mask? Do you mean where is my Soviet mask? Or do you mean WEAR? Wear as in wear it? How old is the PMG test video? Let me search it up on my channel and I'll tell you what the filter was, because I'll actually know if I go and look it up. So PMG, not the PMK, yeah? That is a mask pole FP211 filter, if I remember right, which is a 40mm GOST industrial filter, basically. That's a good way of saying it, Nick, isn't it? And wasn't there also a thing Churchill said, something like, one of the strongest arguments against democracy is to have a 5-minute conversation with a voter? All right, you want me to wear it? Okay, there you go. I'll put the PDF on, even though it's probably not safe to breathe through, but I've probably already damaged my body so much at this point, I don't care. Yeah, that works. Right. There you go. So yeah, you can use the PDF in a tactical way. That works surprisingly well on there, actually. These. I suppose that's another reason to go for the expensive ones, because they'll probably work over the top of more things, you know, than the really sort of flimsy glasses type ones. Yeah, snow troopers have the Stauhelms on those. So you'd need a Stauhelm on the top for a snow trooper. There we go. Litpick says, also, Churchill, it has been said that democracy is the worst form of government, except for all the other forms that have been tried from time to time. Yeah, that's another good way of putting it. Yeah, like we said with like Western, you know, modern democratic, you know, capitalist systems, a lot of them can be shit, but the alternatives are even worse. You know, at least Western democracies don't end up normally genociding, you know, a big chunk of their population for shits and giggles. This has already been asked, Major Breaker, this stream, but very good priced. What's your budget? The problem is that night vision is expensive by what it is, unless you get very lucky. You know, 'cause sometimes you can just go on eBay or know people that are willing to sell one and they just want a decent amount of money and they want to make a sale quickly. So basically they'll do the thing of, you know, like, this is a night vision that they could potentially get £1,000 or dollars for if they had it listed for months and somebody bought it, but they'd rather sell it to somebody they know isn't going to cause issues, you know, for like $300 or something. That can happen quite a bit if somebody just wants to make a quick sale and not have to worry about, you know, somebody saying, oh, it arrived damaged and I'm not sending it back, kind of thing. Well, going to a more technological military is a good thing. Not if you get rid of loads of soldiers in the process, because if they have 5 people at a computer and no soldiers, then that's worthless, isn't it? But yeah, we shouldn't be cutting the military at the moment, but they also do need to be upgraded with better tech. But they also they love to do the thing like say, oh, we're upgrading the military, but we're cutting the budget and firing a load of soldiers. Aren't we good at upgrading the military? I wonder if there's any on allegro.pl. Let's have a look. I don't know if you can actually get them to ship to where you are. Did you know you can buy PPS 43s on Allegro? I'll link to this. I don't think, sadly, I could buy one of these in the UK. But just to show you. That's all right. Right, I'm going to need to shorten the URL. That's all right, Keaton. I got these if you didn't see, because, yeah, the other goggles cut the thing down, but yeah, my eyesight is definitely worth more than thing. Let me just try and shorten the URL for this and link it, because if you're in a country with EU gun specs and you can buy one of these are way cheaper than the UK prices for them. But yeah, there you go. Literally all of the parts disassembled for a that, you know, deactivated for a full PPS 43 kit. And 330,000 zloty. Let's see what that is in pounds. That is, oh, it's not 33,000, is it? Is it? How? Oh, I see. It's 330, and then like the pence, isn't it? So let's take That is £62.96. That thing. Yeah, it's on order, Keaton. And again, I'm not using the 8-watt laser without these on because my eyes. It is Fuzzy under a different name. Who are you talking to? Sorry, Henry, with that. I don't quite get your thing. But obviously, in some countries, you can't legally own working guns like a PPS 43. I think in very few countries you could legally own a PPS 43. In all honesty, I know in America you could probably have semi-auto ones and pre-machine gun ban fully auto ones, but most countries in Europe, good luck getting a fully auto PPS 43 that's not like a cheap deactivated one. Well, that one back there, it comes from a seller on eBay that has scanned in really high definition all the Soviet posters and reproduces them. What you could try 2 grams of gold is what eBay are you on? Because if you go on ebay.com, ebay.co.uk, ebay.de, for example, and type the same things in, you'll get different results. Well, as in 2 separate questions, Alex Saint. For rifle calibers, bear in mind I don't actually go around shooting rifles because I'm in the UK, unfortunately. So it's not like I have an opinion for a job, but let's just go with military ones rather than like hunting calibers or cartridges. Military ones, I suppose, if you don't mind the weight and not carrying as much ammunition, 7.62 NATO, because, fucking FN FAU and the G3, proper big gold guns that, did their job properly. So 7.62 NATO for those. If you were going to ask me like a more serious, like for a lighter cartridge, probably Soviet 5.45 by 39mm, just because I really like AK-74 platform guns as well. But for pistol, probably it's 9x19, just because it's been around for ages. It still works well. There's higher pressure versions available now for it than there used to be. Oh, what, a submachine gun, Nick? But does that have to be semi as well for that? I've bought Geiger counters and things like CDV gear from US eBay. I don't think I've done it with many masks because the problem is because there are a couple of masks, like not all of them, but things like the M50 and the FM53 on the ITAR list. I've kind of found I've got the problem of you have to pay the shipping and the tax on it from the US, which generally makes it stupidly expensive anyway. And then after that point, there's also a risk somebody in customs might not know what mask it is and then think, oh no, they're buying like the military stuff. I'm going to break their order and they're still going to get a charge. But yeah, the problem with US eBay if you're in the UK is a lot of the time, even if the price of an item's good, by the time you get the postage and the tax on top, sometimes you're paying like $40 to $50 essentially just to have an item shipped to you, even if it takes a month. When you say from abroad, where do you mean? And what country are you in? There's UK sellers that have therapies in, and you can also buy them directly from the Ukraine. But I don't know if there's American sellers, for example, that have the therapy in stock. But again, this is the kind of issue when people just don't tell me where they are. It gets very frustrating on a stream if all of a sudden you get the thing of, can I get this in my country? Well, you've not said where you're from. The clock of the red laser has 1 hour. I don't know what you mean by that. There's a Nixie tube clock there. That's the correct time in the UK because we're in daylight savings time. That's got nothing to do with lasers. That's just a Nixie tube. I've got nothing to do with clocks as far as I'm aware that are related to lasers other than like maybe how long till they burn out or the batteries run out. Well, EcoTest, the company, Joshua, is based in Ukraine. So see if your country has a local distributor for them. Then you can buy from your country. If not, just wait for them to ship from Ukraine if the postage isn't silly. Yeah, there's stupid stuff like that, isn't there, Claire? Because I've heard similar things with stuff where, like, customs don't know the difference between, like, the housing on something and what's actually inside it. It was made by multiple companies, David. Most of Britain's World War II masks were made by loads of companies because of, like a wartime effort. So it was more the government got factories to build stuff. So if you were a rubber factory and you could build respirators, you built respirators. If you were buying one as a Section 1 LX if you had a Section 1 firearms license, I do believe, yes, if all of the gas system has been basically destroyed in it, you can have it essentially as a bolt action AK. But at that point, it's kind of going to be a bit clumsy and awkward, isn't it? Because in most calibers, you can probably get a proper bolt action, or lever action essentially in that caliber that would work a lot better. Because I know that was a thing. I know when like the ban came in, that apparently with a lot of like fouls that went on the civilian market, they are either destroyed or some people were able to have the gas system taken out properly and then have them, where you could charge them every shot. And there's some videos of UK Rangers where people are essentially charging the SLRs on every shot. It's a bit clumsy because those guns aren't designed to work, as being charged every time. And I imagine the charging handle would eventually snap if you had to keep charging them too much like that, because they're not designed for it. A bolt action has a really nice chunky bolt because it knows it's going to have a lot of force put on it a lot. It depends, bruh person, what you're into, because again, the UK probably isn't as bad as you think. There's lots of like fucking misinformation on the internet with them going like, oh, you're not allowed a butter knife in the UK and stupid shit like that. Just isn't true. Furness Wilsons are all right. Yeah, the Wilson, I quite like that. I've done a video on it, Jonas, but yeah. Those are, I think they're originally like, are they like either an MSA or a 3M mask originally or something? But yeah, there's a big load of Polish versions of them built. And yeah, they're all right for what they are. They're not the best masks in the world, but they'd certainly protect you, and they're in 40mm NATO. So yeah, it's something, Claire, the US doesn't even make, but they then restrict other people's things under that. It's stupid, isn't it? Stuff like that. Honeywell, yeah, that makes sense. Honeywell is in the company that makes helicopter engines, yeah, like the military company. But yeah, they do masks as well, don't they, Honeywell? But yeah, the Furness is quite good. Like I said, I've got one. There's a video on my channel of it. I don't know exactly where it is at the moment. I might dig it out again and do another video on it because a lot of people ask about the Furness. Like I said, out of all the panoramic masks I've got, it's certainly not the best one, but it's certainly not the worst, It's one of those ones where it's comfortable enough. I probably trust it enough, but I have got some better panoramic masks in my collection. Like out of all the panoramic masks I've got, the Spaziani is still one of my favorites. No, Jim. I've considered it, and the answer is no. I won't go into everything on here. Ask me on a members stream if you want the long explanation, and I'll be more happy on a members stream to go into all the details on it. But most of the reason is that basically where I currently am, there's nowhere I could shoot it. There's not even any proper gun clubs near me anymore because I actually looked into this. The closest is some clay pigeon stuff in one area that's a 30-minute drive, I think, unless you knew somebody with private land that allowed you to shoot on it. And it's also, I just don't like the idea that the police basically get a warrant to look at your house whenever they want. It doesn't mean you have anything illegal and you want to hide anything. It's just I don't like giving up liberties for the sake of, having a gun I can't really use. Yeah, if Mike's on later, Rich, I'll definitely catch you on there. Or as in, do I have the things for this? Yes, I do. I've got some that aren't opened, but the problem is they still rack up a dose over time because essentially they'll catch background radiation over time. Thank you, Fluzzy. And I've got some I've opened and exposed to stuff. I still need to get around to doing a proper video on that. But those units are very big and clunky for what they are. Yeah, there's the Scouts and the Cubs and the Girl Guides and the Brownies and all those Brighto in the UK. But yeah, I like I said, I don't know how popular. I've had relatives that have done it, but like I never bothered when I was a kid. Yeah, that's another point, chocolate muffin, isn't it? Again, I don't have any problem with people that own guns. Like I said, I'm kind of a bit jealous, but like I said, in my circumstances, it's just not worth the effort. Yeah, and there's military cadets as well. Yeah, so you can do air cadets. I assume there's a sea cadets is there, and there's like army cadets. Quite a few of my friends did that. Well, an Nbc filter, 2 grams of gold, is essentially just a P3 filter with chemical resistance added afterwards. A P3 filter will block most of the fallout dust, but bear in mind, if there's radioactive iodine and stuff like that in the air, you need very specialist filters to stop that. That's interesting to know, Brighton. But the thing is, yeah, when you've got a military-esque sort of thing like the Scouts, you do learn good skills from it. Hype sent it me as a gift. I've got links to Hype's channels in some of my videos, and he comments a lot asking me if you can buy one. You can buy those on AliExpress, but you might end up paying more than you'd pay somebody to like ship one for you in China. Yeah, I suppose, Nick, the same problem can apply to obsolete calibers as well. But yeah, it's like, because with the obsolete calibers, there was like 6 obsolete calibers they banned recently, weren't there, that were previously allowed. But at the same time, they added like 30 or 40 new obsolete calibers to the list you could allow. You don't survive a nuclear war unless you live in a neutral country, and things aren't very bad, is the simple answer. But yeah, because thankfully the obsolete calibers I've got and the ones I'm sort of interested in have never sort of been on the dodgy lists. But I think it was a load of pistol calibers, wasn't it, recently they banned? I'm assuming it because there was enough of the obsolete calibers that were being reloaded in those calibers for use in crime. That's a bit weird, Keaton, but so somebody messes around with like hundreds of watts as lasers, and that type of radiation is okay, but ionizing radiation isn't, even if you're following the laws. See, that doesn't make sense to me. But I know in America, you really have to be careful about that stuff, just because you can literally get swatted in America over that shit. It's one of the weird things where I think, although you can own legal isotopes in America easier without jumping through as many hoops or spending so much on them, there does seem to be some very dodgy stuff from what I've seen before in America, where like literally, if you open a smoke alarm up in America and take the AM241 out, that's a federal offense. It's like, why? That's just fucking stupid. Ham radio's cool. I'm not into it personally. So when was that, Nick? The 1990s. So what's that? 20-something years ago? More than 20 years ago? 30 years ago? I personally don't like fast helmets, but some people do. But I prefer helmets that cover more of your head. Yeah, but in Canada, they're not even as strict as America, Keaton. That's the point. But like what I'm saying is, in America, I do know that there are like people that have got into serious trouble over stuff that's technically not really illegal in most countries. Yeah, it'd be when Dunblane happened, wouldn't it, Nick? But I just can't remember the year without looking it up. I know it was in the 90s, but as in an M40 gas mask. They're all right. Depends how much you pay for them. They're definitely not the best masks from the period they came out in, and there are better masks that have come out since the M40. 1997 lit picker says, thank you. So Flazzy was only off by 1 year, if either one of you's right, but yeah. But the problem with the M40, as I've said before, if you watch my video on it, is the M40 has the thing called the second skin for it to give it additional levels of protection. Most masks don't need that. So you need a hood for your M40 for it to perform to the same level as most other masks. Yeah, Nick, that was the thing. He was known to be a nonce, and rather than him being arrested there and then there not being a problem, they basically did the thing of, oh, we're coming to get you, but not yet. So then he's like, oh, my ultimate fantasy is, other than raping kids, is to shoot kids as well. So I've not got any live rounds, Evan. I've got right. So let me show you. So hopefully YouTube doesn't get shitty with me showing you stuff like this, because I'm not actually showing you a gun. So in the UK, if you buy a cartridge that's been fired and no longer has any propellant in it or a primer or whatever, that's legal. So look, here's a 50 BMG. You know, so with pretty much any cartridge, you can buy them where if you open them up with some pliers, there's nothing inside them. You've got like a bullet stuck back in it. You've got the brass cartridge. That's it. You know, you can see it's been struck there. You know. Oh, I get you both now. So yeah, Dunblane happened in 96. Ban happened in 97. Right, Rajiv? I'm looking forward to Stalker 2 as long as it's good. So I'll hope it's good. But, you know, I don't, like I said, barely any of the original developers are working on it. So who knows? Yeah, no powder, no primer. So the firing cap on it, essentially, the primer, whatever you want to call it, has already been struck. Inside, there's nothing in it other than an empty case and a bullet. Well, as I said, Keaton, that's the problem. If you make videos on stuff, dickheads will report you. Like I said, in the UK, I've had the police turn up, and you know there was no issue because, again, I was maliciously reported and I hadn't done anything wrong. But the point is that you need to look up the laws in your country before you do stuff. This is an important point wherever you live. Don't just watch videos of somebody doing something on the internet and say, somebody did it on the internet, therefore I'm allowed to do something. You know, because using that logic, Americans can shoot pistols at a range. So if I somehow acquired a pistol and went around shooting it, even if it was on private land, I'd be in a whole lot of trouble. That's cool, Rotold, but yeah, I know you have to be careful with stuff like that, don't you, on old battlefields, if there's still... I know there's still mines now and again, aren't there, that ships run into or they have to find and get rid of. You already asked that and I already told you no. You know, if you ask, is it possible to survive a nuclear war 100 times, you're not going to survive it. Something like that, Fluzzy. I mean, I know that is sometimes really harsh with very silly laws, because like I said, that's where I find it stupid, where there's something in the law that nobody would ever think about, you know, but you can get done for it. And especially if it's like one of those very pedantic kind of policeman that wants a power trip, so he knows something's against the law and does somebody on it. But yeah, for most things, like I was saying, if with anything like weapon related, laser related, radiation related, you know, anything like that, look up the laws in your own country, you know, because in so many countries these laws vary so much. So don't just go, oh, I saw somebody on YouTube do it, therefore it's okay. Holy Singer, mostly because they're, at the time, not anymore, they were cheaper than most other forms of surplus in the UK. So you could probably buy 4 gas masks, 5 gas masks for the price of any sort of second-hand helmet. You know, same logic with lots of the things. Yeah, that's stupid stuff like that, isn't it, Fito? Again, why not just sell them on the deactivated gun market then? Yeah, oh, that was the thing, Nick, with that, is that for me, that was a good reason why pepper spray should be legal. Like, you know, rather than feminists keep going like, oh, women shouldn't learn to protect themselves, men should learn not to rape or whatever they were doing. It's like, no, go fucking appeal for pepper sprays and like tasers or stun guns to be made legal for you to protect yourself with. Because if a criminal wants to carry one, they'll carry one. But, you know, if you go and carry one, then you'll get in more potential prison time than somebody who go and rape you. That's how stupid the fucking law is here with them. You know, and I think that's stupid, but that doesn't mean I go and carry, you know, pepper spray on me. You know, that's the sort of thing. But again, it really annoys me with some of the things where, yeah, just in general, like people don't want to learn what the laws are in their country, or then think, how would I go about like appealing certain laws or doing, you know, at least petitions or whatever, or protests against a law that would change and help people. Now I'll just make a generic statement like men need to learn not to rape, because yeah, I'm sure rapists will learn their lesson and not do it. You know, that vilify all men, you know, just as I could say, like I said before, that if you've ever been, you know, had a woman grab your ass or something in public, then all women are sexual assaults. It's stupid, isn't it? I suppose that helps, doesn't it, Brighto, if it's a World War One field, not a World War Two one, and it also means more time with munitions laying around, the more likely they are to have just broken and gotten soggy or whatever. Well, the thing is, Young G, it's barely been covered in the news here because Prince Philip died. But from what I understand, Russia has mobilized lots of troops and vehicles, haven't they, to the border? So it looks like Russia might be pushing in, or maybe they're doing some sort of war game exercise. Well, American free minutes, as in, rather than people wanting to change the law, they just moan about stuff. That sort of thing. I think that happens in a lot of countries, doesn't it? And again, it's like the thing of like, oh, we need to ban these high-capacity baby-killing assault weapon type things. It's like, wow. The thing is, if somebody's a criminal and they want to do something bad, they're going to probably do it, even if it's, you know, a gun acquired illegally or whatever. Like, we have gun crime in Britain, despite pistols being banned and automatic rifles being banned, you know. We have lots of this stuff still happen here with drug gangs because there's so much money involved. They just get the hardware regardless. Against who? What, the Soviets or the Russians, Broto? I mean, if it was against the Russians, I can't really blame Poland there because, you know, Russia is a lot bigger than Poland. You know, they're nuclear armed and everything. I hope it wasn't against Germany. I'd be quite embarrassed if Poland got beaten by Germany today, considering the absolute state of the German military. Yeah, there's a lot of things they could be doing, isn't there, MLZ Play? But like I said, the annoying thing is, over here, the news has barely talked about it because Prince Philip died, and then you're asking the same questions you asked on the stream the other day, so I'm blocking you. Right, not MLZ Play, the person who's been asking the questions I answered the other stream, and then they just keep asking the same questions. If you're not going to listen to my answers, why do you bother coming on the videos? Yeah. The thing is, assault weapon. It's like, what's it been? Especially, it annoys me when it's being used for guns that are like semi-automatic as well, Flazzy. And well, you see it, don't you? Get used with guns that aren't even semi-automatic. I swear I saw a shotgun that was like a pump action, like described as. We're saying that the British press has also fucking described crossbows as assault weapons. Let me go get my assault crossbow. Hang on. There we go. It's oops, I'm nearly knocking stuff over there. It's an assault weapon. Look, it's got a scary scope on it. It's not even got a pistol grip on this one. But yeah, that sort of assault crossbow, assault weapon stuff is stupid, isn't it? With the, like... The thing is, like I've said before, other than somebody maybe spraying automatic into a crowd, in general, if somebody is taking their time semi-automatic, you know, with a semi, taking accurate shots, they're probably more dangerous than somebody dumping their mag in a second. But yeah, fully semi-automatic bolt lever action. Yeah, that's happened a few times, Nick. There's been loads of guns funneled out of the British Army, and I'm not saying that as like a slight against the British Army. I'm just saying that happens everywhere. You know, you should see some of the fucking illegal gun hauls they've had in Spain. Let me get you a picture of one of these up. Spain illegal weapons seizure. Have a look at some of these fucking ones. It's crazy. You know, again. All right, so here's one of the examples. Again, there's loads of ones like this, but have a look. So, again, thankfully, this didn't go to some group like ISIS, because, you know, the police intercepted it, but loads and loads and loads of set meow rifles. You can see loads of bolt actions further back, but most of those rifles are set meows. There's probably some older set me's like the G3 there. You can see there's mortars there. Some of the pictures I've seen of the ones where they've seized. Yeah, here's another one from Spain. Look, so loads and loads and loads of set me, the original set me's, as in G3 rifles. So loads of ones there. This was a raid where 10,000 firearms were seized, apparently. I don't know if that's the same one or a different one. So yeah, if you look at that one, look what looks like a Browning heavy machine gun or something in the back, or some other sort of PMG, HMG. Submachine guns as well, bolt actions, carbines, loads of pistols. So again, those aren't legal guns. A legal law-abiding citizen can't own those. That's directly going to criminals because this stuff gets siphoned out. It's kind of how the world works, So again, it's like, oh, you need to have loads of restrictions put on a really old bolt-action rifle because, a terrorist or, an organized gang are going to have state-of-the-art military equipment because they've got all the money for it, Yeah, exactly, Young Jing. I mean, I'd love a Browning high power, but I wouldn't want to be, a super horrible criminal getting one. But I'm just saying, I'd love a Browning high power. But yeah, but I wonder why all of these police and military firearms end up in gang stockpiles. I don't really need any more chocolate muffin at the moment. How I was doing it is the only reason there's loads of mods at the moment is a while ago on all the members' streams, none of the members could talk properly because YouTube was just censoring loads of comments, but they don't censor mod comments as much. So I did it at one point just because people couldn't even talk on the streams properly who were members. So they were paying membership, but they couldn't even talk. But that seems to have gone away a bit now. Yeah, Claire, in France, you can't. That's banned in France. And that's literally because the government loves tear gassing civilians so much. That's weird and stuff like that. But yeah, because that was the thing that pissed me off with the EU again. I don't want to get too political, but the EU, right? So you had those horrible, like ISIS terror attacks, right, in Paris. The Bataclan one where they had the suicide bombers and like the gunmen, and they were like torturing people to death, and that was happening. Media didn't report on that properly, but basically, when they went into the Bataclan, the lucky people were the ones that were shot dead, right? A lot of people would be like shot in the leg. Then they come over, and start cutting your dick off or whatever, and like cutting your hands off, slowly sawing your head off, doing that. So that sort of thing, that happened, right? And the EU's response was, although basically all of the terrorists in that had like AKs from Yugoslavia, fully automatic, the proper real deal, the military AKs, what we need to do is put more restrictions on civilian gun holders. Wow, okay, so you're fucking doing the exact wrong thing you should be doing. So rather than maybe having more border patrols and, scanning packages coming through properly, all that sort of stuff, no, punish the law-abiding citizens properly. Yeah, I can certainly imagine it happening with the old IRA stuff, Evan, yeah. Wasn't a lot of that supplied by Libya, the Soviets? Some of that stuff was supplied by America to the IRA, not like the American government, but like private American citizens funding the IRA back then. But yeah, that's the thing, Joe. There's a similar thing, I don't know if you know this, where a lot of the illegal drug market ends up being stuff that's from like the legal big pharma kind of chain, where they just happen to go missing from pharmacies or like, factories. So, because, stuff like fentanyl, codeine, heroin, which is diamorphine, morphine, all that stuff can be produced and used in the pharmacy industry in the UK or, like hospitals. So what a surprise that somebody maybe not earning very much money somewhere in that supply chain smuggles stuff out, and then you're getting pure grade stuff on the streets. Right, I'm getting rid of the person that's blatantly come back with a second account, because if somebody keeps coming on and asking the same questions as somebody who's just been blocked, it's blatantly obvious they're the same person. Yeah, let it pick her, or if the Queen died, I guess nobody would notice. Well, I mean, people would notice, but you know what I mean? It'd be like the fuss they made over Prince Philip. And don't get me wrong, I did like Prince Philip, as I say, because he said some funny old stuff. But, and, he did fight in World War II, and that, like I said, I don't, but like the point was, it was like several full days of media coverage here. If an entire city in the UK had been wiped out by an asteroid, you probably wouldn't have heard it. It would have been like, oh yeah, Birmingham's been hit by a meteor. Moving on, tributes continue to come to Prince Philip. Well, that's a thing, MLZ player, but you have to think sometimes the people don't even know what they're taking. But again, that's the tainted drugs thing. But that's why I think it should all be legal anyway, Because why is it the government's right to say you can take this but not take that? But, that's my point, is that when they keep saying, oh, we need to be in Afghanistan because they could be exporting heroin, if they're running the poppy fields again, it's like, oh, it's not like that heroin can come from anywhere else, It's not like that fentanyl just gets into the postal services of several countries, and then just is literally sent around like that. There's been all the problems of vaccine sort of arguments as well, Evan, at the moment. But yeah, obviously I don't want anybody to get hurt over any of this stuff. Well, yeah, the thing is the government can make tax from it. That's the thing I don't understand. If it's legal, the government can tax it. They can make money off of it. Because I think the argument you get is basically, the one you hear in the US is basically, if everybody can buy guns and more people are going to get shot. And the one with drugs is basically, well, if you could just go into a shop and buy something, then all the kids are going to die from taking heroin. I don't think it works like that. Cigarettes are still legal in the UK, but less people smoke every year. It's been continuously going down. You can have something be legal, and it doesn't mean people have to do it. Yeah, I know that because I like the royals of that generation. I just don't like Prince Andrew. I think William's all right. There's been all that stuff for Harry and Meghan recently where I don't really care. If they want to leave the family, leave the family, but don't keep sort of saying, oh, we want a private life, and then going, oh, let's do another TV interview, But yeah, the thing is, and Volta, the problem is lots of people don't want to have the idea that people can have individual responsibilities. It's like, let's look at gun crime in places, right? I'll finish the stream fairly soon. I've gone on over an hour. But let's say you have gun crime somewhere. Could that be because of mental health problems, like lack of good employment, so like poverty, mental health, all that sort of stuff? Oh, no, it's the gun. Somebody just saw a gun and goes, oh, I've got a gun now. I'm just going to have to shoot people. Like, yeah, in general, somebody who is healthy and like mentally active doesn't think, oh, I'm going to go and kill people today. Because, a lot of terrorist attacks have been with people being run over with cars, vans, trucks and all that sort of stuff. When I get behind the wheel of my car, I don't go, oh, I have to run people over now. I use it as a fucking car to go from A to B. Like, I would never, ever drink drive either. Like, tonight I'm drinking. That means I will not be behind the wheel of my car tonight, I have a breathalyzer, so I can just double check that the next morning as well, that I'm totally clear. But, but no, some people just like to do the thing of, oh no, people can't have individual responsibilities. It's objects that make people do a bad thing. Right, I'll let you know when I shine my laser pen then at like planes and into people's eyes, because guess what? I'm not going to be doing that either. But yeah, anyway, I'll be. Yeah, it's interesting, Young, isn't it? Because in Europe, Portugal's decriminalized. It doesn't mean it's like fully legal, but they've decriminalized a lot of drugs, and Portugal is like one of the best countries now for low crime rates regarding it. Because if you basically are on drugs and want to come off, there's no stigma about going through all the rehabilitation processes. Oh, you do, in Rage Lemon, you do know what happened with weed, don't you? A few years ago, I can't remember if this was Labour or the Tories, they got, I think it's Professor Nutt, like the drug czar, basically. They got him to do a report on weed, which was a Class C at the time. He said, we should just make weed legal for all these reasons I've listed, an actual expert on the subject. And the government said, right, you're fired. We're making it even stricter if you get caught with it. It's still illegal, but I suppose it's the morality versus legality thing, isn't it? Like, I know a lot of people that smoke weed. I think they're morally good people. It doesn't mean that they're technically doing something legal, but I just do not give a shit. I wouldn't rat them out. If they were a child molester, and I knew about that, they'd either be beaten to death by somebody who might not be me, or they'd definitely be reported to the police. But if they're smoking weed, I don't care. It's not. It's morally, there is nothing wrong with it. It's if they enjoy it. Somebody says stop talking or stop taking goodbye now. Well, there's lots of countries where they grow loads and loads of opioids. It's just for the pharmaceutical trade, not, the heroin trade, kind of thing. But again, why not just make it legal for everybody? Depends how you mean patriotic. Do I love the government of my country? No. Do I like my actual country? Yes. Does that mean I want to kill people because they're different than me? No. Would I kill people if they invaded my country to do harm upon the people of this country? Probably yes. That's, it depends how you define patriotic, doesn't it? And all the stuff like that. Would I want to kill people in other countries? No, because they can live their life there. What was Flazzy? What are you saying about I can explain it better? Oh, right. So basically, if somebody's asking about the gun thing, I'll go over it quickly. Bear in mind, Flazzy actually has a firearm certificate and all that, and I don't. But basically, it's if you're on enough of your own land or land where you have permission to shoot and you've got all the licenses, there's no issue whatsoever. But yeah, firearm certificates are harder to get than the shotgun certificates. But again, a lot of it just depends. Are you on a clean sort of bill of mental health? Are you a known dodgy criminal? If not, then you're probably okay, especially if you've got a reason to own a gun. But again, it's a bit deeper than that, but I'm sure there's good videos on YouTube that explain British gun laws properly. And again, in the UK, you can own things like antique calibers without a license. I won't hold it because YouTube says you can't do that anymore on the stream. But down there, see the barrel of it? There's a Schmidt Rubin sticking up. That's a fully live-action Schmidt Rubin from 1892. It's a model 1889. I don't have any ammunition for it. As far as I'm aware of the law, if I started getting ammunition for it, it would be a bit of a grey area. If I started shooting it, that would be very dodgy if it wasn't registered as a firearm. But owning one that's fully functioning without the ammunition, then it's not a firearm because it's such an old gun. There's lots of weird things to our law. I don't know what either of those things are. A PRST 4 or 2. What are they? I mean, if you're interested in buying Russian surplus, I would certainly say buy that before they ban trade with Russia for surplus, if that's what you're on about. Like Russian camo, Russian gas masks, all that sort of things. Well, like if you do pest control for a farmer, Tim, like you shoot crows or rooks or, foxes, stuff like that. That's good reason. Yeah, vermin control. Yeah, hunting. Like, there's lots of good reasons for it. The reasons people should have guns, like I said, in America, it's a bit different because they have a constitutional right to have a gun. Over here, it's do you have a practical reason for doing something? A lot of our laws are based on do you have a practical reason for it? So like with knives, right? Just before I finish the stream, I've got loads of knives in my drawer. Technically, the law says I can't walk about without a reason with a knife that's over 3 inches and locks or, as a fixed blade. So I could technically go around with a Bowie knife on me or a knife like that if I was out doing wood crafting type things in the woods, because that's my reasonable excuse. But I wouldn't have a reasonable excuse to go into my local supermarket, fucking decked out in knives. That's just how our laws work over here. Most of the time, it's about reasonable excuse. The police don't always interpret the laws right. Sometimes you can get very unlucky if something goes to court, but that's generally how our laws work. Yeah, that's the thing, is it would be cool if, maybe if there's armored foxes in some places, but yeah, it's probably just a bit impractical and expensive, isn't it? A 50 BMG, there's not much reason for it, but again. Oh, with all the names for stuff, I don't know the names of all this stuff off the top of my head. Like, sometimes people ask me about a gas mask in my collection. I have to go and look back at which one it is because I can't remember everything on top of my head. Will I be taking the second vaccine shot? Yes, I will. I think technically they might offer me something other than the Oxford AstraZeneca now, but I'll happily have whatever second vaccine shot because I'm not paranoid about it. Because if the chances, there is a 1 in a million chance you might get a rare blood clot and die, but they also don't know what the odds of that is in the general population anyway. It might be 1 in a million anyway. They don't know. That's a pretty good odd in my opinion. So, in terms of when will I take it, when I'm offered it, that could be another 2 months at this point, because I think it's 3 months you're meant to get it between your first shot. The second one you get in 3 months from the first shot, I think. I heard some people, though, saying that they were offered a different one. But like I said, I don't mind. I'll have the AZ absolutely fine. Hello, Peach. We're just finishing now. You came on too late. Yeah, as I've said before, I've played all the Half-Lives, including Opposing Force, Blue Shift. I've not played Half-Life Alyx, though, but, you know. I have got for, I'm not doing any video game videos at the moment, Freddie, just because I got a strike on a video game video, so I'm just being a bit cautious about that, where YouTube can't define fantasy versus reality. But yeah, just before I go off, to answer the thing about what Young G was saying, I do have quite a new like pistol kind of IR illuminator thing coming that Hype sent me. He really kindly sent me another one for free because he's got some he was selling. And then because I said to him, you know, at the moment, I don't know if I've got a job to go back to at the moment. He said, fuck it, you can have one for free. So I thought that was nice of him. So yeah, I'll be doing a video on that when it comes. I want to fit that on the pistol crossbow and shoot the pistol crossbow with all the different IR things on. I've already got one he sent me for that, but this one's an even better model. I don't do video games on Twitch personally, but Mike does. Yeah, Opposing Force is good, isn't it? I tried playing through that recently, and it was a lot harder than I remember. I suppose that's because the old Half-Lives were good and hard games. Anyway, I'll be off now. Have like I said, I'll probably be on tomorrow. I don't know if it'll be a members one tomorrow or a non-members one. I tend to alternate them. Although I think tomorrow it might be the day I do a test stream with Bots and Duke, assuming they're both up for doing it tomorrow. So I don't know if that would actually be public. It might be where we just do a test one to see we can all get like screen sharing on again, because StreamYard doesn't work for all of them very well. So anyway, see you all later. Yeah, so it's a combination thing, is it, Litter Picker, with certain contraceptives, like certain age groups of certain contraceptives, and a mix and match of tablets, which is always a gamble, isn't it? Anyway, see you all. I'll be off. Bye.